Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are doing our daily MLB pitching preview show with Joe Duffy from OffshoreInsiders.com, searching for some possible value on these MLB cards. We get Joe Duffy's great advice every day. His final picks are OffshoreInsiders.com, but in these videos, he gives us his thoughts and leans and opinions for free. Right now, we're looking at the card for Saturday, August 8th, and the first game I want to ask you about, Joe, is Baltimore at LA. Ubaldo Jimenez against Garrett Richards. Both these guys have been off recently, but Jimenez gotten hit a bit harder. It feels like Richards is a bit more reliable and stable anyway. I'm thinking that we give the Angels a pretty solid edge here on starting pitching. Would you disagree with that?
No, I would not disagree. In fact, I think we talked the last time that Richards pitched, or the last couple times, that he is one of those guys that just seems to be sneaking under the radar this year. He's an undervalued pitcher. He's pitched very well. Maybe doesn't get quite the attention he deserves, but he's been pretty darn consistent, especially pitching at home. He would have a pretty big edge here.
All right, that's what I think. And then the always interesting Alfredo Simon, right? He rides again, this time at home against Boston. He had another bad start in his last game at Baltimore, but over his last 8 starts, he did have one start that was pretty good, and that was against Boston. At Boston, so maybe he can repeat it here. I don't know. There are also reports he might have a lingering groin issue. He might have some injury issues that he's going to pitch through. Wade Miley on the other side, up and down, can certainly get hit. But Simone, I don't know. Do we expect him to get hit from Boston? He held him down last time.
He's had a lot of bad outings as of late. You know, now Alfredo Simon, he might be the worst pitcher on any rotation at this point. I know he does mix in a pretty good outing, but you are correct. He did have some groin troubles last time. I would not be shocked if he is scratched, but if not, I think he is a definite go against. Not to say, you know, Boston, I think we've come to the realization that Boston's just not that good, so I'm not saying that I'm in love with Boston, so to speak, but to go against Simon at this point seems to be money in the bank.
All right, and then another game I want to ask you about, David Price against Ivan Nova, right? Now, Price seems like he's dealing, right? He came over to Toronto and did not have any of the issues that sometimes we see from marquee name pitchers who go to a new team. Awesome start in his first start with Toronto. The Yankees' offense, though, can be dangerous, and particularly against lefties. They've had multiple double-digit run games recently. Maybe they won't be able to get it done against Price. And Ivan Nova, you know, he had a good game last out, but, you know, he's been complaining of arm fatigue. And when a pitcher is complaining about arm fatigue, I think you have to take him at his word and eventually expect it to catch up with him and expect him to get hit. And Toronto, we know, is a very dangerous lineup. I think adding everything up, we'd lean Toronto here, but, you know, the Yankees can be dangerous against lefties, and Nova has been okay recently. What do you make of this matchup, Joe?
Nova's pitched well with a 3.10 ERA since he did return from the Tommy John surgery. I do know that David Price looked like David Price in his debut with Toronto, but like I said, sometimes these stud pitchers, more times than not, they can have a little bump in the road when they change uniforms. Now that he's hitting the road, I think there's some possibility there. Maybe a little bit of a check mark next to the over because you're going to have a low total. And I think that, you know, with Nova's been solid, but still some question marks against him. Not so much question marks against Price, other than the fact that, you know, I don't really, it's impossible for me to go into a database and come up with hardcore statistics to quote to you, but many, many years of watching baseball, I do think that the stud pitchers, when they switch teams, you kind of anticipate they're going to have a bump in the road or two. So with the low total, I think a possible over here.
All right, Joe, I wasn't even really thinking about the over until you just mentioned it. But yeah, if Price gives up 3, Nova gives up 3, or even if Price has a shutout game for 6 or 7 innings, the bullpen could give up runs. That might be a good bet there. And yes, we will see a low total. And then we have 2 more strong pitchers in the Mets and Tampa Bay. We discussed it on the Friday card that there were 2 big arms going, and Noah Syndergaard and Nathan Carnes are going on Saturday. And, you know, both of them generally very strong. Again, the Mets and Tampa Bay have been hitting better recently, but I'm thinking we see probably an under here. We should get 7. I doubt we'll see 6.5. What's your take on Syndergaard versus Carnes in Tampa Bay and the Mets?
Syndergaard, and he's, you know, although he's somebody who's pitched even better at home than on the road, he's still a tough pitcher on the road. Carnes has done very well with a 1.65 ERA over his last 3 starts. Now, that being said, Carnes is almost the opposite, though, where, you know, at home he's been okay this year. 3.52 ERA at home, which isn't necessarily spectacular. So even though Syndergaard, as a general rule of thumb, has been better at home, look, he's a young pitcher, and it's deep into the season. I think he's going to continue to pitch a little bit better on the road. So I think that the Mets do have that pitching advantage here, but not really a big one because Carnes is in a nice groove as of late, too.
All right. Well, right now, my only leans are I expect Garrett Richards to have the edge over Jimenez in that game. And it didn't occur to me until you mentioned it, but I'm definitely leaning over in Toronto Yankees. What else would you like to bring to our attention from Saturday, August 8th, Joe?
Nothing that completely screams out, but Nelson Lariano has pitched well against Los Angeles in his career, ERA of 1.37. And Trevor Bauer has really struggled at home for Cleveland, 5.59 ERA and 11 home starts, and that's where we really, we talk a lot about the home road splits, and usually you're going to find out pitchers who pitch much better at home than on the road. But it's guys like Trevor Bauer who struggle at home, who are usually the good value guys to go against. So, as I like to say, put a big check mark next to that.
Okay, Joe.